Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this last interactive knowledge series of Iijs Virtual 2.0. Today's topic of discussion is social media. Marshall McLuhan, often regarded as the father of media communication, coined the term the global village. This was in 1960. And what he meant then was that the whole world is brought together by internet and electronic communication interconnections. The new reality of digital age that is witnessing increased velocity of communication that has fostered international density, making social networks a catalyst for social change. We all know that the pandemic in 2020 brought us much closer and together socially. Today's session on social media will focus on the nuances of social media and how effectively one can put this channel to use and augment our businesses. Our speakers today are from iProspect team. It's a Denzu Ages network company, which is world leader in digital marketing communication. So we have Mufaddal and Ashwin from iProspect, who would take us through on how to use social media to promote our products and to sell jewelry. Without taking much of your time, over to you, Ashwin and Mufaddal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dolly. Thank you so much for the awesome introduction. A very good evening to everyone who is attending this session. And a very happy new year to start this off with. Um, uh, we understand these workshops as in the sense that we want to inculcate the idea of what agencies or people like us do when it comes to understanding brands, understanding the media, understanding the channels, and what is the right way to propagate the right message to the right people. And that's what and the sheer preciseness of social media gives you that opportunity to go that deep, and to have to take you through this journey of how effective and how how simple we how simplify how a simplified version of social media can look like. I have with me today Mr. Mufaddal Mableshwala. He's an associate creative director at iProspect. He has over 8 years of experience in digital advertising, and he holds the social strong foot at iProspect along with our other associates Rahul Talukdar and Sabir Solkar. He has a rich experience under his belt when it comes to, say, banking to bespoke, and from all brands across GoAir, SBI, ICICI, Club Mahindra, Raymond, Essilor, APAC, Angel Broking, Shaze, and so much more. And it's a great opportunity to have him with us to give an overarching idea of what how creatives or how the creative lens sees the digital spectrum. I'm Ashwin Vaidyanathan. I'm a social media strategist at iProspect. I deal with day-to-day affairs with from business as usual for brands on social media, to creating campaigns, to restructuring based on new launches, new ideas, new sub brands, all of that included. And we all work as in tandem as one to create these wonderful opportunities for brands. So the floor is over to you, Mufaddal, if you would like to take this from here on.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. Uh, Thank you so much for this lovely introduction. Now, firstly, before I start, I would just like to wish everyone a very, very happy new year. This past year was riddled with a lot of challenges, and we just hope, even as advertisers, that moving forward, the challenges are restricted and not our travel. So, before I start, Ashwin, can you just go to the next slide, please? So there's a client which we have called GoAir. I'm sure everyone has, most of the people here must have heard of this. They came to us with a very specific problem. They wanted to increase the number of advanced bookings that people were making with them. Now, we wanted to approach this from a slightly different lens. We didn't want to just jump to the problem straight away and directly try to sell the advanced booking proposition. We wanted a more structured approach. We started looking for some sort of an insight, something to just pique our interest, and which in turn could also pique our audience's interest. While going through some research, we came across Expedia's vacation deprivation report. Now, that stated that 75% of Indians feel vacation deprived. That actually is the highest number in the world. And 55% Indians also feel that vacation deprivation affects their productivity. Now, what does all this point to? That Indians are basically not really taking vacations. Why is that? Like, we would assume people would love to go and travel, right? But multiple factors. But one of the major factors here is the cost that is associated with traveling. Now, when we look at the cost, why is it so high? Because another thing that we do is we book tickets and our stays and the other parts of travel right at the last moment. That contributes big time to increasing the overall cost of your vacation. So research and reports told us that if people book their tickets, say 3 or 4 months in advance, they would, especially airline tickets, it would end up being as economical as, say, train travel, which would obviously make it more convenient for people to travel, right? Now, we wanted to push this proposition forward, explain to people why it's so important to take vacations and how, with advance booking, they can save. Now, the big challenge for us was to choose our main protagonist. Even that was very insight driven actually, because when you think of it, who's the one person in the family that suffers the most when it comes to when the family doesn't take a vacation? The child. Why is that? Because every time the school reopens after the summer vacations, all the children, they come together, the friends come together, and they discuss the different places that the family travel to. And children always have love to brag about the different experiences they had while on travel. Now, if there's a particular kid who's not been able to travel, he will not have those really good experiences and stories to share, which will make him feel left out from that entire conversation. That made us realize that the best protagonist for this particular campaign would be a child. And that's exactly what we did with our Udke Jao campaign for GoAir. I think, Ashwin, you should just play the video once. It will give our audiences an idea about our campaign.
यश ये क्या हो रहा है? बेटा, जो स्मार्ट बच्चे होते हैं ना, वो सुबह उठ के पढ़ाई करते हैं. इतने सारे पढ़ाई कैसे बोल रही होगी? कब से बोल रही हूँ? प्लान करो, टाइम टेबल बनाओ. सुबह साइंस, आफ्टरनून मैथ, इवनिंग इंग्लिश, सब हो जाएगा. अच्छा मॉम, इस बार वेकेशन में कहीं घूमने चले क्या? लंबे वेकेशन का खर्चा और प्लानिंग बहुत होता है बेटा. कब से बोल रहा हूँ, प्लान करो, टाइम टेबल बनाओ, एडवांस बुकिंग, बीच पे चिलिंग, पहाड़ पे क्लाइंबिंग, सब हो जाएगा. अच्छा, और जाएंगे कैसे? उड़ के. उड़ के?
Log on to GoAir.in or mobile app and book your tickets in advance to avail low fares. Fly smart and make your dream vacation come true.
Thank you. So, like we saw in this video, the kid really communicated the idea of why it is so important. What is the importance of booking in advance and how it can help, make your vacations more economical. If you'd like to say, we would like to, just tell you guys about the results as well. It really did extremely well for us. Now, there are two parameters which we measured the results on. One was the effectiveness of the video on the digital medium. To come to that, it was 42 million, over 42 million in the 45 days that the campaign ran. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the main business objective. The main objective of this campaign was to improve the number of advance bookings for GoAir. We really delivered on that front as well, wherein the advance bookings went up by 49% soon after this campaign. So I think this campaign was a real big success, and one of the major contributors for that was the fact that it was insight driven and not just a very hush hush type of a campaign where we tried to just push the proposition without really focusing on the basics. So I think
here's where I would like to add one point, Mufaddal, if you mind.
Sure.
The idea of just showcasing this bit was the fact that on social, all you need is one germ of information, and the platforms are so effective that this was across 8-9 platforms and GDNs and everywhere, and Google display networks, and people are talking about it. And the idea being that if you have one report that you feel that can do something for the business, you take that report and you create a communication around it. Social media will make sure, if you are doing it right, to get you to this. That's the entire idea behind this. As an agency, when you come to us, this is all we need: a creative germ, and you can create you can create business results out of it. Was the idea of this. So
Correct.
also to continue moving forward, Mufaddal will also take you through his creative lens how the universe of social media is like. After which I will come across and bring more depth into platforms. So Mufi, back to you.
Right. So I would just like to, focus on the more holistic view of how we see social media, how it's such a, really effective platform for brands nowadays to advertise their products and services. Next slide, please. So social media, like we know, it's actually a universe in itself. People really love spending time here, right? I mean, it's a part of our routine. Most people on this call, I'm sure, have accounts on all the major social media platforms. So that's how effective it is. That's how relevant it is in today's times. Now, for brands, it's actually a very great opportunity to connect directly with a very active and responsive audience. Consumers. Now, next slide, please. When we actually compare digital media with traditional media, there is one big differentiator in my opinion. Traditional media can go as far as persuasion, but beyond that, it's for the consumer to decide whether the persuasion deserves a response or no. Now, there isn't a option of an extra nudge, which traditional media is capable of, which is where social media is so different, which is when new age media is so different. Because with social media at its epicenter, things just go way beyond that. Now, not only can we actually persuade people, we can even attract audiences with customized messages. And that is solely possible because social media enables brands to have one-on-one interactions with audiences. What it also helps with is letting people get more immersive experiences. Next slide, please. Now, what do we mean by immersive experiences? Storytelling gets better when the experiences are better. On Facebook, for example, we have something called an instant experience. Now, previously it was called a canvas ad. What it does is it lets people, get onto an ad, and that ad completely captures the audience's attention and makes it a very interactive property where you can respond, where you can interact with the ad. You can just scroll right and left. You can scroll up and down, interact with various elements of the ad. There's even an option to actually click on it and get led to a different landing page through that ad itself. So there is obviously the canvas. Apart from that, there are also other formats like stories and thumb stopper videos and the entire shebang basically. So all of this helps make storytelling more and more immersive, which in turn can lead to better results. Now, at the end of it, what is the objective for any brand that wants to advertise their products or services? Convergence. I think that's what it all comes down to. Digital really has the power to lead people from consideration to conversion. Now, with Insta and Facebook Shop, for example, convergence can be achieved even without leaving the platforms. That is how effective digital media and social media in particular has become. Now, while we spoke about the social media universe, I think let's just have a look at the strength of the sheer volume of people that are present on these platforms. We've just listed the 5 major platforms here, which is Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Like you look at the numbers, they are mind-boggling to say the least. I mean, from the number of people to the active users to the video consumption on these different platforms, it just goes beyond anything else out there. And the best part, all these audiences are there at the tap of a button. Like you can really get in touch with them on a one-on-one basis and interact with them and get a response out of them. So I think it's a big opportunity that lies in front of all brands out there to invest more and more into this particular media and get the best results out of it. I'd like to call Ashwin. Sure.
Here's where I also came up with one challenge for everyone who's watching this. All you have to do is, if you believe that you are not, if at all in your life, if you believe that you're not a tech, if you're not a social savvy person, but you eventually escape into social media without knowing it, just go to your screen time on your settings and just check the top 10 apps that you've been to and see if social media doesn't make it to the cut. That's how active you are,
Correct.
absent-mindedly or subconsciously being on social media.
Right. everyone is on social media out there. I mean, believe it or not, we all love spending time on
Yes.
social media, and it's become like an integral part of our lifestyle nowadays. Uh, I think moving forward, I'll let Ashwin take the floor and talk you guys through the individual platforms and the capabilities of these platforms and how it can be used effectively to achieve your brand challenges and your brand objectives that stand before you. Ashwin, all is yours.
Now this is where it gets relevant for the category. This is in this case gems and jewelry. Until now, it was very important to know what is there in front of you. It's like a big buffet. Now you have to pick and choose what do you want on your plate and how much do you want and whether this satisfies you or not. And that's the end result of having all these platforms giving you all these services, right? And each platform helps you tell your story in a different way. And this is where as if you're a jeweler, if you're a diamantier, this is where your mind starts to boggle, that this I can do so many different things on one platform, and it all looks different, and it all has the capacity to entice audiences just by the way it looks. Wow. And this is where we start understanding more and more. Instagram, this is if go to any social media agency, hands down they'll tell you Instagram would be one of their favorite platforms to work with. It's the only platform, and it matters to you as audience because it's the only platform where visual storytelling is at the heart and hub of everything, only keeping aside Pinterest, which does not have such an immersive person to person interaction. Instagram is where your social life, your social currency comes in the form of pictures and pictures only. It's where breathtaking imagery, lifestyles, and trends come together to create this tapestry of experiences in multiple engaging formats. If that doesn't interest you as a jeweler or a diamantier, I don't know, because it should, because it's where it's because everything that we make out of jewels and gems and are so visually alluring. It's so beautiful. It's the first sight. It's love at first sight in so many cases when you just look at it and you go, yes, that's what I want to buy. And that is why Instagram has been, if you go to Coco Chanel, you go to any brands, you go to any high fashion brands, look at the amount of focus that's given on Instagram compared to other platforms. This is where that is because jewelry, just like social currency, has lifestyle value and are both connected. And now comes to formats. When it comes to formats, Instagram gives you multiple formats. You just picked some, which I think some people might be privy to, some people might not be privy to. Like, that salt is salty, but you don't know how much of it is good. So for example, how can you, if someone asks me, if some diamantier asks me, how can I use Instagram stories to create engagement? Look at that. Do you prefer a princess cut or a round cut? Yes or no? Believe me, even within, as a government body within GJPC, when we do these things, people come and vote, and people have time to do this, because if they're following you and they see something like this pop up on their notification, they'll come and check, hey, what are you talking about? And then they'll see that this is actually conversational, and it does not do anything. It does not sell a product, but it seeds something in the head about jewelry for a particular time being. Or you can also do it, that is engagement. You can also do it for reveals. For example, if you have a sale coming up in 3 days, why not do a slow reveal? Why not do a daily reveal? Put a small timer on it, say 24 hours to go, and people will come to know when the timer has gone off, and then they'll come and check, oh my god, okay, the sale is live now. That is the power of stories. It's just one. If you don't know what stories are, just if you go on your Instagram profile, your photo will come at the top left of it. When you tap it, it'll ask you to create a story. It's basically a full vertical size, just like the ones you're seeing here, a visual with a message. It can be made or it can be shot, and it's wonderful. Instagram, we go to their seminars. Rahul, one of our senior directors, attended one of these seminars in Singapore. They told that if you're focusing more on feed, start focusing the same amount on stories, or even more if possible, and vertical videos. Reels are relatively new. How many of you don't really like or like TikTok? I'm both. I like TikTok for some reasons and don't for some reasons. But when it went away, a lot of other brands came up and decided to replace it. Instagram decided to do it with Reels. Facebook decided to do it with other short videos. YouTube came up with YouTube Shorts, and it does the same thing. There are filters, dozens of filters, dozens, scores of filters that you can, some of which that even you can create. For example, in one of these slides, you'll see, I'll point out to the lady wearing the yellow blazer and the jewelry. That is one of those filters where you can, this one, this is where you can is where you can create filters with floating jewelries, and people have to just place their body, and it just creates their look. Can you imagine doing that anywhere else? It's just it's on Instagram, and you can, this is how you can just simply, with the use of technology, this is how you can create such, almost AR like formats through reels. Grids, how grids look wonderful in my opinion when it comes to launches, when it comes to categories, when it comes to selling something new. If you look at how beautiful this, how layouts look, that's what grids do. Grids take the edge away from a single post. It turns your Instagram page into a catalog of sorts, a tapestry of visuals, and that's what grids are wonderful for, and we use them a lot for across lifestyle brands. Include something as magical as product tagging with grids, and you really have something in your hands for business. Now look at this. This is, I don't know if this page is loading for everyone. In this page you see there are like somebody has really, this brand has used the grid so wonderfully. It's actually, each of them are separate Instagram posts, but they look like one image. And when each of them, you see there are tiny shopping bags. Some of them have tiny shopping bags on them. All of those shopping bags lead you to, which is on the right side of the page, you see a shopping page on Instagram itself, which is where you can see these products individually and can shop from the website from there itself. And isn't that a wonderful way to start an experience? You show something that's so alluring, so out of this world, so enigmatic in one sense, because you don't really know what it is, but it looks so beautiful, and you can still buy it directly on Instagram. That's what you can do when you merge grids and products together. So basically, to sum it up, on Instagram, brands get the opportunity to entice people. All of you who've seen any visual that you've seen, I mean, since the start of this, I'm sure it must have enticed you at some point, with be it with lifestyle choices, with unique, interesting products, and essentially a visual catalog of the brand. That's why Instagram is personally my favorite. I'm pretty sure it's Mufaddal's favorite and a lot of other people's favorite.
I'd just like to add here, Ashwin, that it's very important, for brands to look at Instagram very differently from any other platform, because
Right.
I think there is an opportunity to do a lot of branding, obviously, on your Facebook or your Twitter or any other platform out there. But when it comes to Instagram, it's extremely important to keep it very decluttered, because as soon as you put a lot of branding, you put a lot of icons on top of it, it just takes away the charm. Like the best references that you saw right now, none of them had a lot of branding in it. If that's one very key thing to look at right now, because these brands have realized the best way to actually make the best use of Instagram. They don't need a lot of branding. They simply have the shop signs and they've tagged the products. As soon as people click on it, they can directly shop from there. They don't need branding here. So it's very important to use Instagram very differently from your other social media platforms. It's a visual treat. It has to be a visual treat. So it's important to treat it that
It
way.
has to go parallel with, exactly, it has to go
Hmm.
parallel with with imagine if you were a brand on Instagram as a person, you would show your lifestyle. Essentially the brand is
Hmm.
showing the brand's lifestyle.
Correct.
In this
Yep.
case,
The brand's lifestyle. Correct.
it shows
We
the
have to
brand's lifestyle.
understand that the number of followers and active followers that you'll get on Instagram is directly proportional to how appealing your feed looks. So it's important to keep it very, very sophisticated, good looking, and clutter free. Back to you, Ashwin.
And obviously, other than the fact that you keep doing stuff and you keep conversing,
Right.
obviously that gets you more people. Speaking of another platform, now this one is unignorable because it's a veteran. Everyone who left Orkut, who is attending this seminar right now, started a new chapter with Facebook. All of us did. Everyone has a Facebook account here. There's no lying about kidding about that. And it is a veteran. But despite it being the veteran, think about it. Every brand started their online social media journey with Facebook in one sense or the other. And which is why it is still where the brand hub lies. Every brand is there on Facebook, and it's where people discover blogs and videos, business discover people, and consumers discover brands. It's an endless cycle. It's an absolute discovery platform. Even today, believe me or not, if you go on, if and this is something that we always talk about in the agency. If you go to Facebook, chances are that you will get an update about your friend doing something new, buying a car or something that's big. Maybe one out of 3 or 4 stories which are otherwise about other things like politics, something about another blog, maybe somebody is selling a jacket, and there is some brand, you see that a Facebook page now does not look like the Facebook page it used to 10 years ago, because it no longer imitates that same person to person connection. Now it has changed from person to brand, person to consumers, and business to everyone. It's like a very open universe, Facebook, and that is why it's still very important. If you have a story to tell, don't forget Facebook, is what we still say.
Yeah,
And
another
why?
thing to just understand here is that nowadays people are looking at their Facebook page as their website, because if you notice nowadays,
Exactly.
actually it's a pattern that even I have recognized for my own self. Whenever I need any information about a brand, I rarely go to their website. I just go to their Facebook page, because I know the most relevant stuff about the product or the service that they're offering will be updated on Facebook. So that's what it's become nowadays. It's the platform to just put everything about your brand there, and it's a platform people actually go to if they want to know more about your product or service. So it's like a substitute for a website nowadays.
Right. Who noticed color changing Facebook logos? It's important, because the next point we are going to talk about is I'm talking about why it's so important, because consider the universe. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's also WhatsApp, and it has such a big, varied, rich database that if you were a business and you wanted to target as specifically as you can, this is where the home is, and this is where you go and check databases and see what kind of people, what do they like, what do they consume online, what pages are they fans of, and basis of that you can directly communicate with them. And that's why Facebook still holds importance, because it still is a bigger universe than you think. And there are so many interesting formats on Facebook too. Why apart from all these, you also have 3D posts on Facebook. How amazing would you do you think a jewelry picture can look as a 3D post? It can look wonderful. These are just some examples, but you can imagine the 3D post of a beautiful new jewelry that nobody has seen, that you have launched, and you've done it in a 3D format, just twisting and twirling, and you see other aspects of the jewelry. Right? Beautiful format. AR filters. Facebook and AR filters were wonderful, and it came to other platforms as well. AR filters is basically similar to reels. You can create these. For example, in the extreme right, you see someone with a Santa hat. In the left, you see someone creating AR filters with goggles. Somebody is trying. Somebody wants to show what it's like to try different shades of lipstick. We can do that through AR filters. It's all possible through technology. We have executed so many of them lately, and the responses are brilliant, because
It's become
AR
so
filters is just
experiential
taking
nowadays. It's become so
it's a
experiential nowadays. So I mean, there was a recent filter that we did about for Swiss tourism. Actually, was the cow filter. So it
yes,
was it was a really cute thing that we did, and it just grabbed eyeballs so much, because cow is like a thing in Switzerland. So they wanted to use that as a connect.
it's basically
Go on, go on, go on.
right. The story is, it's a longer story. Like it's a celebration of cows coming back, but the AR filter was simple, just a cowbell and a cute flower thing on your head,
And the
and
sound of the bell.
everyone, including celebrities, yeah, everyone, including celebrities who know Switzerland, came and used that filter, and that's just plain awareness and plain sight engagement, right? So that's a brilliant format to use. Um, Moving on to another platform that we really like, which is Twitter. Twitter in today's world is literally a news ticker of the highest order, and it's of the people and by the people, and for that matter, if I would say, it's for the people also. It's basically it's built by the people, and to create agendas, to create movements, to create conversations around people and you will see that on Twitter every day now more than ever. 2020, I think, could easily be one of those years where Twitter had one of the highest amount of conversations that any other year saw, because it had elections, it had COVID, it had so many live trackers. I think Twitter was, people realized how important Twitter was in terms of quick news transmissions. But when it comes to brands, that's the Twitter story, the way Twitter was when Twitter was conceived. But then when you look at what it does for brands, one of our favorite brands, all-time favorite brands, Wendy's on Twitter. Just digressing a little bit from your category, but still, this is what you need to know, because Twitter gives you the opportunity. Look at Wendy's, the way it talks. It talks like a person. It's a brand. It's one of the biggest burger brands in USA, and it talks to people like it's another person. It just brand banters. And you know what we understood from this? Brands can do that in India too, and we did that with GoAir. When it was Holi in 2019, we at IP decided that let's tag all the airline brands. Doesn't matter. All of them, Air Asia, Air Deccan, all of them, there, not there. Let's tag them. Let's use their brand colors. Yellow for Jet, purple for Vistara. This was a simple video, basically color splashing. We said let's color the skies together and tagged all airline brands. And not to our surprise, airline brands behaved like people and they came back and wished us happy Holi as well on the same thread. And this has not been seen between Indian airline brands coming and wishing each other in a small cloud, like Happy Holi, Vistara coming and wishing you, Jet Airways coming, SpiceJet. What makes Go Air happy the most is Indigo coming and telling you, Happy Holi to you too, Go Air. Let's color the skies together. And this is the power of Twitter. This, can you imagine five very competitive, and being airline, it's so competitive, coming just together for one day and just telling Happy Holi, it's okay, it's great, everything's good. And that's what Twitter can do. And that's where it can go extremely wrong for brands. And this is where a latest example comes to mind. This is where brands, especially brands which have more emotional cores or ethos in their heart. Tanishq would be one of those examples. Came out with I feel was one of the most clutter breaking ads of its time recently, but it got the craziest slack on Twitter. People banned it. It got out. It was removed. It no longer existed. Which means Twitter is so randomly revolving. It's so evolving every day. If you don't read the room, if you don't know the mood of the room on that particular day, and you release a campaign with good at its heart, it will still come back and bite you. And it's a great possibility of that happening. So Twitter, be cautious, but be human is what we always say to brands. If you have to be bold, but we always say be human on Twitter, because it's how you create conversations.
It's also very important to be empathetic on Twitter, because you need to understand the sentiment. Like Ashwin rightly pointed out, even the sentiment of the day, even the sentiment of the hour, because that's how dynamic this platform is. So if the sensibilities are used and the capabilities of the platforms are immense, all the brands need to do is use sensibilities when using it.
Right. So, but you, at the same time, I don't know, I mean, some of you might take it as a good news, some might as bad news, because you don't need to create a complaint box, a suggestion box, or a listening board. Twitter is all of that for you. People come there. If people don't like you, they will come there and tell you. If people like something about you, they will come there and tell you. And if people have an opinion about how you can better something, sure, they will come there and tell you. It's where bands get these suggestions and these voices from the people, and these voices matter, because that's how eventually you build it around the consumer and create better experiences for them. Now LinkedIn is a tricky space because it's so simple. Because LinkedIn, just think of it this way: LinkedIn is basically your brand in a tie and suit. It's the brand in its most formal form. It could unless you're Virgin Airlines, then it's wearing a t-shirt and shorts. But then otherwise, it's always wearing suits and ties, and it's always it's the only place for us as agency where we go and say, okay, if it's LinkedIn, we mean business, because here we do not do a lot of messing around with creative freedom. Here, LinkedIn is not, I would not say it's a boring platform, but it is for sure a platform that has some amount of formality included. It has some amount of, it has a stature. It has a white collarness around it, which means you cannot do a lot of, you cannot go all creative, especially when it comes to jewelry. That's the challenge, because jewelry is a creative expression. It allows you to explore the bandwidth of jewelry creativity, of the craftsmanship. But then on LinkedIn, again, just reminder, you're a brand in a suit and tie. Doesn't mean you have to be boring. You can be very inspiring on LinkedIn. That's where the thing changes. You can, when you go on LinkedIn, it's more about the business. It's more about the person. Maybe it's the person who is propagating thought leadership within the company. Someone who is giving you direction. Someone who knows that, someone who knows what the future is like in the next 10 years, and is predicting that there's going to be the industry, what the industry is like. This is what we have to go forward in the next coming 5 years. Big initiatives like, say, you have CSR initiatives for Karigars, for example, any sort of PR activities, any milestones and achievements for the brands, any article that matters for the brands. All of this is LinkedIn's universe. Is people come there to a brand only to know more about what's happening inside the brand or what's happening in the category, and what happened in the category is all around the news. So we can replicate that voice as well as have our own brand voice. That's what we use LinkedIn for primarily.
It can also be a mix
And
actually, where the news articles and the reports which come out, the brand leaders have their own perspectives about what this means for the industry moving forward, like a projection of sorts. So it can be a mix of both these things as well.
right. And someone who's a new lad in the block, but its predecessor had some really crazy fan following. MX Takatak. If nobody can forget the era of TikTok, although it lasted short, but it created the vibe that it created in a sound that we'll never forget. And that's why a platform like Takatak came into being, because there was a gap that could not be filled. And it's the same thing, it's literally the same thing. If you know TikTok, you know Takatak. It's literally the same thing. It is videos that you can speed up, slow down, add backgrounds, edit it, add filters, and that's all that there is to it. 15 seconds, 6 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. But we never say that it's no brand. I mean, there are brands who say we are not for Takatak, we are not that audience, we do not want to engage with that type of people, because they're probably not from, first of all, some of them, a lot of people are not urban, a lot of people are not in the mature category, a lot of them are kids, a lot of them are just coming there for viewing and not really participating. So there's a lot of confusion there is a supposed confusion in the minds of brands. But if you look at some cases that we have, Mufaddal will talk about one of those cases. Unbelievable, the things that you can do with Takatak or TikTok.
It was actually
If you are a
a
jewelry brand,
finance brand.
just
Sure,
before
sure,
we
sure,
get to
sure,
that
sure, sure.
case, just something that's relevant to our audience today. If you are a jewelry brand, and if you have something young, that deserves to be, heard by young people, and you can show that in an interesting way through young influencers is a big topic that's coming later. But if you can do it through young people on Takatak, there is nothing that's stopping you if you do it right. But what surprised us was this campaign. Mufaddal, yeah, up to you.
So this was actually very interesting because it was almost like a category first. It was actually a category first. So we have a client called Angel Broking, and for them we did a campaign on TikTok. Now at that time, it took us some selling when we even wanted to do this campaign in the first place, because obviously the clients are slightly apprehensive that what will my brand image look like and how will things come to life. They had their set of apprehensions, but we were able to convince them to take an action and actually let us go ahead with this particular thing, to their surprise. And it worked beautifully well, because not only did that campaign help them get leads, it also actually led to convergence, which was almost unheard of. Before that, TikTok was predominantly a platform where brands just come and have fun with their audiences. They just engage, they interact, and create like a top of mind recall. What Angel Broking did through our campaign was actually get convergence. So it was a category first for us. And quite honestly, if a finance brand can do this on a TikTok, there's no stopping any other brand doing it on a Takatak today. So I think jewelry is obviously a very relevant category as well, which can be used, if done right, it can be used to even get leads for clients. So yeah, it's something all brands should consider.
The Angel TikTok thing definitely got some awards at some ad awards that we know of. So that is certainly a testament to how effective that platform is in certain ways. Uh, yeah, and by the way, when just when it came in, which was July, it didn't take much for people to onboard, because there was a hangover like no other, which I think only now PUBG audiences will relate to, probably once it got banned. The bandwagon was so quick. It reaches 1 billion daily video views in a month. That's how fast it was. So yes, it's not something unheard of, but it's definitely one of those places that in the coming times also we'll understand how other brands can also incorporate their communication in this platform. Which puts platforms on the side and brings us to influencer marketing. Now, the influencer, the word itself is, I don't know if it's a miscalculated word in many sense, but I would preferably say that in this universe, if social media is a universe, these guys have become celebrities in that universe. It's essentially the fact that in that cloud of some million people, who are everyday users of social media, some stood out with content creation and have become great influencers in the sense they might not influence you to purchase it, but they might give you the eyeballs you need. That's the thing, because when we say influencers, the thing is that are they really influencing you to the point where you go and like, no, I want that exact thing? No, probably not, but they are definitely influencing the fact that yes, there is something that of this sort that exists. Maybe you are interested in it later. For There are two ways of looking at influencer marketing. One is the way how Mufaddal looks at. One is the way how I look at. In this case, I'm going to hijack his parts slightly. Uh, the left side of it is matching the brand's tone and persona. Now, this is very important. Now, if you're a luxury category brand or a jewelry brand, now does everyone match your persona? No, probably not. Like, for example, if I were a lifestyle brand dealing, for example, just speaking out in the open, if I were a lifestyle brand dealing with golf clubs, for example, I would want someone who plays golf as a not only plays golf but speaks that language. For example, I would ask Atul Kasbekar to come to me and give me a 1 minute video narrating, his life as a golf enthusiast, for example. That is the creative side of things, to understand whether it matches the tone, whether it matches the brand, whether the person is the brand stature, and whether or not is there going to be collateral damage, especially when you sign up to certain kind of people, who are sometimes questionable and you don't really know it. So these are very important things in the creative side of things. But in the social side of things, if you all you have to look at the number of people who are following them. If it's immense, it is guaranteed that your message is going to reach an immense population of people. Because unlike, say, even if I say on, and these are influencers that I'm not talking about Facebook influencers, because Facebook, even on Facebook, your active audience probably is going to be 1% of your actual people who are following you, which means even 1% of your followers, that's even less, that's hardly anything. And that's organic. I'm talking about Instagram followers, where you can drive disproportionate reach, everyone gets to see it. And that's how, for me as a social strategist, this entices me. As a creative strategist, as someone who looks at creative on a larger front, understanding or matching the persona to the brand is another exercise in itself. And together, there's no one case that we want to put out, because every time we do influencer activities, it's a success. I don't think there has ever been an influencer tie-up that has gone wrong or hasn't yielded results, because either way, it'll either take you to a page where you buy sometimes, or it'll at least get you engagement, but it always works.
To
Because
put it in a slightly different way, like Ashwin, you mentioned this is like a universe. So the influencers are like the stars of the universe. So
right.
I mean, when we are down here, we obviously we look at stars. We may or may not get influenced by them, but there'll definitely be visibility. So visibility is never a problem when it comes to influencers. They are the stars out here.
Right. Now this is where some interesting bits and pieces that we do for brands that we are currently working on. I mean, jewelry brands, lifestyle brands. We just want to show how, if as an amateur, as a jewelry person, as a jewelry brand, or or as someone who is interested in showcasing the lifestyle or the jewelry aspect, or the craftsmanship aspect of jewelry, how can you do it? I mean, so here are some examples of some brands that we have worked for, and thus some creatives that we have worked for. One is Cinemagraphs. Cinemagraphs are very subtle. Right now, it's not even playing. It's not playing. That's why it's like a still image. Give it a second, and you'll see that the earrings are very subtly. And this is for a high fashion brand, Shaze, right? Their demand was that we don't want anything that's out there. It needs to be subtle. The whatever additions you do, the earrings are sparkling a little. Here, you see that there is a slight spark. These are cinemagraphs. These are not videos in the sense that, oh my god, okay, everything is moving. Here, one or two things,
The
one
idea
or
of the
two aspects.
cinematographic exactly is that one particular aspect of the creative will be in motion. The entire other parts of the image will be static. One other thing we've also done in this creative is we've put the earring in a golden color while the entire image is in black and white. So it just adds more value. It makes it stand out that much more. And when we add that little sparkle to it, it just amplifies the entire feel of the image. That is what like a cinematograph can do. It just enhances the feel of the creative. so much. Even your
Similarly, this is not even a cinematograph. This is just a
right.
static. But just when you play with contrast, this was one of those collections that had no form or shape, but had a great story.
Mm.
It was called Flossom because
Flossom.
it celebrated floss. But it just came out so beautifully when you picture it with the right kind of person wearing it and the right, the kind
Color
of tone and
contrast.
contrast.
Yeah, that just makes all the difference.
We are showing some more of these how we have worked on it. Now these, for example, I think these would be good samples of how you can probably, if there is a sale, you want to call it something, and you have interesting products and you want to make your feed look extremely stark and visual with contrasting colors, to play something with black and white and with the product on the side. And the focus is still going to be on the stark contrast of colors that's right there in front of you, and then you will get to the message. But it'll grab your eye when you're scrolling in that 1 microsecond. You will see white and black being so contrasted that you'll stop there and look at it for a second. And that's what
And
happened to these
obviously,
creatives.
another thing in creatives also is that you always move your eyes from your left to your right. Since left is all black, it's
Yeah.
almost like a negative space. So you will immediately start looking towards the right, and that will bring you to the product. And so it's left top to bottom right. That's how your eyes function. That's how we look at ads in general, which
Yes.
is exactly, we kept that logic in mind when these ads were designed. So you look at the negative space on the black first, directly lead to the product, and you come down and look at the offer. So it just seamlessly communicated all the things that we wanted to, along with this particular creative set of creatives out of.
And then it also comes down to shoots. Now this was a brief that was inspired by Bulgari. Now, I mean, Bulgari, if you look at Bulgari shoots, the brand itself, it's so enigmatic. You never get to know what exactly they're selling until you, because it's so visually alluring. And then you figure out, oh my God, it's that one beautiful ring on her finger, which was because of the whole thing being so beautiful. That's also that becomes a part of that that the design ecosystem. So this was one of those briefs. This is where photography becomes very key to the visual, and this is where if you set a tone. For example, if my tone for this collection is green, my photography, my theme, my entire thematics will be in that order. My insignias will be looking like that. In this case, my motifs will be looking like that. My logo will be placed like that. Such is the importance given to, I mean, here you see that it's just all of them put together beautiful. Individually, you see them together beautiful. You look at the jewelry separately, zoom in, again beautiful, and then there is something that's complementing it on the side, a motif that talks about the visual story behind the jewelry. This is just one example of how you can probably bring out a signature collection. This is a brand called Varuna Tijani. We used to work for them. Imagine a grid. Imagine how you can play with grids in jewelry. Look at the right one. Look at how on Instagram you can create occasions. Sorry for the tilt. You can create so many occasions and then show uh, jewelry, fashion. You can show like full lifestyle images that go great with that occasion. Reception, sangeet, mehendi, for example. Or on the left side, you can see how expressions like make a statement, every adornment reflects individual style. These are powerful statements that gritty statements that come from within. Flaunt your bold. And to show that, you have complementary images on the side, which are a mix of black and white, which are a mix of real life colors and black, and all of that together creates this. Together you see it as a story. Individually it won't matter, but at the end of the day, you are going to zoom out on Instagram and going to see that brands know that first of all, brands are creating micro moments, reception, sangeet, mehendi, occasion being wedding, but you're creating micro moments and putting ornaments and other lifestyle aspects in it. And the other fact being, you're taking complete lifestyle approach. This is on the left side. If you want to add something further to this.
No, I think you've properly encapsulated that, like the two different ways in or like with respect to how we can treat these grids. One being emotion led, one being occasion led.
Um, also films, great tools, right, to promote. These were two films that we did very recently with Shazid. This was to promote their new range called the Druzy range, which is essentially Druzy stones. I'm sure all of you know about this. And if you do film, now this is a high fashion film. Now exactly where you draw the line at film. Tanishq films, Shahze films, Bulgari films, never going to look alike. They have their own way of looking, and they will look. Tanishq will look like a Tata film because it has that core in it. But at the same time, a new age brand does not need to adhere to certain norms of the parent brand that it holds. So it becomes new age. For example, this is how you can do jewelry sometimes. And mind you, this is not for TV. This is only for social, which is why the length of it is so short. It's not long. It covers everything in 20 seconds. It tells you the whole story. This is one way of doing it. If the brief says that, or if you feel that this collection, if this is, for example, if you feel the collection is classy, ultra modern, for the lady, for the warrior, but if you feel that this collection is for the girl, is for the girl on the go, is for the one who wants to go from the tech to the tech, and you want to change the pep and the music and the whole thing of it, it can also look like this. It's just about the play of photography and the music. In the end, you have a great asset for social media that you can run across channels on YouTube, across display channels and stuff. So it gives you great opportunities. Don't miss out on films, no matter which platform you want to be, for sure. Here's a little bit about as brands, as an agency, we've been closely working with GJPC over many years, and GJPC is we treat it. I mean, the way we treat it is because it's a government body. We treat it from that pedestal that it is for us. It's up there because we have to look at it from as a government body, as a governing body for a larger number of people. So for GJPC, we have tried and tested. We have experimented with certain things. We've seen certain things that work. For example, all of these examples that you saw, breathtaking visuals. If you look at that, when we do breathtaking visuals as well, a government body, people still like it. People still come and engage with it. If you're talking about Instagram stories, these are our numbers, by the way. These are GJPC's numbers, the governing body's numbers. 1,200 plus responses on 4 stories published back to back within 24 hours. And this is not even someone who's actively coming and telling you that, hey, this collection is 50% off. This is just asking questions like these questions that you can see on your left. Indian architecture gems. What is your favorite topic? Who's your favorite for example, person from this list of people, and something promote artisan awards. That was the entire idea of this, and it gets these many responses. Think of it as someone like, for example, Mr. Colin from who chairs the entire board comes and talks and gives a small 30-seconder with some real people, some real karigars in the background. Does wonders, right? Because people know, oh, you are a body that is, I mean, it tells you that you hold that stature, and it gives, and you get engagement organically without doing anything. This is even this. Think of this. GJPC, when it lost its 10,000 followers on Instagram, it was the first time it was allowed to drive traffic to the website using stories. And the first time we did it, and right after Instagram allowed us, there were already people in double digits going and visiting the website. And this just shows that if you have the right message, and if you have the right audience targeted, you can go places with simple execution formats like these. And these are some of the other things, that some other formats, some other stuff, some other highlights that has happened for us in this for the year. At this point, it is very important to know a little bit, not too much, because we have spoken so much on the creative, a little bit on the paid aspect of how to look at your audience, where is it feasible to go or to promote, or how does it impact the set of audience. That is a different story that runs parallel to social. And for that, I would like to invite Dhruvesh Gandhi to come and take lead for this part, please.
I think Dhruvesh is facing some technical difficulties.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay. Give me a second. Let me just try to add him back because it's an interesting story.
Ashwin, if you could just go on mute.
So thank you, Ashwin, and thank you, Mufaddal, for joining us and sharing such deep insight about each and every platform of social handles that exist today. Thank you once again for being part of this interactive knowledge session.
Thank you for having us, Dolly. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.